Marijuana. Its use is widespread throughout our culture. Marijuana is so prevalent in our culture that it has been almost 20 years since we have had a United States president that didn't use marijuana at some point in their life. Bill Clinton was the first U.S. president to admit to trying pot. President Clinton admitted to possessing cannabis, but he wouldn't admit to inhaling it or liking it.
When I was in England, I experimented with marijuana a time or two, and I didn't like it, and didn't inhale, and never tried it again.
Many people don't want to believe that George Bush used cocaine and marijuana. When candidate Bush was asked about his past drug use, he refused to answer the questions about the indiscretions of his youth, preferring to say that they were irrelevant. The answer to whether he had used marijuana was no longer open to debate when one of his advisors, Doug Weed, released tapes in 2005 that he secretly recorded of phone conversations with George Bush when he was a presidential candidate.
You want your little kid to say, "Hey, Daddy, President Bush tried marijuana, I think I will."
No, I don't.
You don't want that, do you?
No, I don't want it.
Well, that's the message we've been sending out. I wouldn't answer the marijuana question.
Barack Obama was the first U.S. president to openly admit to inhaling marijuana.
You asked other presidents that were running, did they inhale?
I did. It's not something I'm proud of. Maybe it was a statement as a young man, but, you know, I mean, I'm not going. I never understood that line. The point was to inhale. That was the point.
Look, when I was a kid, I inhaled frequently. That was the point.
I have to ask this question. Remember, Senator, you are under oath. Did you inhale?
Yeah. Well, I was telling somebody asked this question. I said that was the point.
Not only did Barack Obama admit to marijuana usage, he also wrote about positive drug experiences in his 1995 book, Dreams of My Father.
I spent the last 2 years of high school in a daze, locking away the questions that life seemed insistent on posing. I kept playing basketball, attended classes sparingly, drank beer heavily, and tried drugs enthusiastically. I discovered that it didn't make any difference whether you smoked reefer in the white classmate's sparkling new van, or in the dorm room with some brother you'd met down at the gym, or on the beach with a couple of Hawaiian kids who had dropped out of school and now spent most of their time looking for an excuse to brawl. Nobody asked you whether your father was a fat cat executive who cheated on his wife, or some laid-off Joe who slapped you around whenever he bothered to come home. You might just be bored, or alone. Everybody was welcome into the club of disaffection. And if the high didn't solve whatever it was that was getting you down, it could at least help you laugh at the world's ongoing folly and see through all the hypocrisy and bullshit and cheap moralism.
It is clear that the last 3 Americans that have risen to the status of President of the United States have committed the crime of possession and use of marijuana. Marijuana use is so common that the National Institute on Drug Abuse says that as of 2003, more than 94 million Americans have tried marijuana at least once. In 2009, 858,408 Americans were arrested for marijuana offenses. Not only do those arrested face imprisonment, they also face a criminal record that will remain with them for the rest of their lives and will be the basis of discrimination in housing, education, and employment. When filling out an application, the question is not, "Have you ever used marijuana?" The question is, "Did you get caught?" Despite the widespread prevalence of marijuana in our nation, we have put those that get caught into a permanent underclass and place obstacles in their way for their entire life. Does this benefit our nation? Is it right that we encourage discrimination against those who got caught doing what so many of us have done? Does making it harder for those who got caught to get an education or to find work lower the productivity of our economy? Ask yourself, if Bill Clinton, George Bush, or Barack Obama had been arrested and given a criminal record while they were committing their youthful indiscretions, would they have been able to move on with their lives and become President of the United States? My name is Chris, and I'm a pothead for life, even though I no longer smoke. I am a pothead for life because I have a criminal record for possession of cannabis.